Today we have Mr. Vipul Singh. He is the founder and CEO of the startup, and he also is the elected chair of Drone Federation of India. So Vipul, welcome.
Thank you,
And
Shripathi.
thanks a lot for accepting this invite.
My pleasure.
So today I would like to converse with you on few of the technology front of drones and also Atmanirbhar Bharat and how the drone ecosystem is going to actually grow in India and outside India as well. So what's the importance of drone industry in India today and for tomorrow? Today we see drones in the defense domain. We know the warfare which happened, and then we also see the drones in the wedding halls. How do you think the industry will contribute to the country's growth?
Sure. I think one thing we have to recognize that drones' presence has now evolved quite significantly over the last 5 years. And especially a country like India has made a very creative utilization of drones for its rural development, as well as digitalization related schemes all over the place. So just to highlight few things how India has leveraged drone technology for its economic growth, especially the rural economy, is where drones have been used to do the digitization of the land records. So we have about 1.2 billion people who live in these geographies, and they don't have a legitimate record of their properties which they own today. So they cannot access the financial ecosystem which the rest of us living in urban areas can do. So drones have played a very instrumental role in mapping around 350,000 villages so far.
Wow.
And almost half of these 1.2 billion people are already receiving their property cards. On the other side, India being a very dominantly agrarian economy, where most of our employment comes from the agriculture ecosystem. There is a program which the government of India right now is promoting called the Drone Didi scheme, where almost 15,000 women self-help groups or women entrepreneurs in these rural geographies are being enabled through pesticide spraying drones to start their own businesses. So there are multiple benefits. One, these women get employed. Second is basically because of these, mechanized way of pesticide spraying, the overall the produce will improve, the consumption of chemicals will reduce, so we'll have much more eco-friendly crops and also health-friendly crops coming out. And this was also a big challenge. Earlier, the pesticide spraying services were not available because generally the laborers which used to do that were getting exposed to harmful chemicals. So no more that is going to happen. So there's a complete different economy which is opening up. So simultaneously, if you look at certain policy changes which have happened in Feb 2022, there was a geospatial policy which was introduced in the country, which very specifically highlights that as a country, we need to map all our land at 5 centimeter resolution. And that can be done only through drones and aircrafts. And drones have so far proven to be operationally and economically more viable and scalable. On the other side, there is also a mandate to create a 3D twin of all the cities which exist in India, major cities in India. And already there is a pilot going on over 60 cities under a program called Naksha.
Wow.
So drones are not only opening new economic possibilities, not only digitalizing some of these assets which the country and its citizens have, but also improving the administrative capability of the government. On the other side, industries are leveraging it. If you look at our coal industry or mining industry, they are leveraging drone to improve their decision intelligence on their mines. Infrastructure companies are using it for construction progress monitoring. One of the main lifelines of the country, which is the national highways, every month a drone flies over every kilometer of national highway to detect for encroachments and damages, and using that data, the National Highway Authority is basically maintaining these highways to the best of the standards. That's why you now see a lot of pothole-free, damage-free highways all over the country. So they are just improving all different economies: power, energy, transportation, as well as the rural development and agriculture.
I believe you're also working on the mining front.
Yeah, as from AEREO point of view, yes, we work on mining, urban and rural development, as well as infrastructure use cases. But I'm talking as a whole, drone industry as really enabling a lot of good governance practices. And if you just put all this together, then we can tag this all to the sustainable development goals laid down by UNDP. And drones directly are able to deliver at least 6 out of a few sustainable development goals through the data sets and the capabilities they deliver. So it's a huge economic and sustainable development possibility which drone technology is enabling right now.
Wow. We also have the sustainability factor in the industry itself, the growth of the industry, how long would it sustain, and how much of these particular technologies are designed and made in India. So, from made in India to how do we actually move forward for make in India fully? So, Atmanirbharta is something which has to come into the drone ecosystem, which I think the work in progress. But what is your view on this particular front, and your plan as a DFI member and as the chair? How do you make an impact for the industries to work towards it?
Now, that's a pretty good goal to have as a country because drones are now not only just economic enablers or just a tool to have, they are also becoming a very strategically important technology sector for the countries to get their sovereignty in place. And that is the reason why there is a lot of need as well as also the emphasis from various policymakers to create as much independency as possible from an Atmanirbharta point of view. Now, from DFI, there have been a significant improvement, just not from DFI, but the overall ecosystem perspective. The utilization of drone in the country has really surged a lot in the last 3 years.
Absolutely.
So because of that, there is a certain critical mass which is there. So there are changes which are happening in the procurement policy to enable that. So there is, let's say, preference given to those companies which are having higher percentage of indigenous content, and not only from a manufacturing point of view, but actually from the design point of view. So I say it, design in India, develop in India, and then make in India. All of these capabilities of designing and developing requires a sophisticated set of tools, skills, and knowledge base. So it's a long gestation period to build these capabilities. The country is going through that. But just to highlight from DFI perspective, we launched a particular initiative called the Bharat Drone Stack. In that, we went out and invited all the companies which are trying to develop these systems and subsystems, which will ultimately become the critical enabler for the drone industry and the OEMs to improve their indigenous content. Now, as of now, today, it's a voluntary listing which is there for free. There are more than 30 such companies which are doing various deep tech component development which are listed on Bharat Drone Stack. And the schemes which I talked about earlier, they are also now changing, they're reshaping themselves to say that, okay, if you have more than 70% indigenous content, you will be given a preference during procurement. So there are two things happening. One, the ecosystem is opening on its own because there is a critical mass. Two, to make sure that it gets accelerated, government is ensuring that the procurement systems basically recognize such efforts and give them the preference and the benefits. Three, on the other side, platforms like DFI making sure that the smaller players have the visibility in front of the bigger players. And four, what is going to happen is that, and what is already there in place, is the performance linked incentive, which recognizes component developers separately and incentivizes them commercially as well. So these are
Right.
few initiatives which are happening right now. But from all of this, there is an increased need for domestic R&D, which is also going to shoot up because we have to compete with the global standards when it comes to developing some of these capabilities indigenously.
While you came up to the standards, which I think was there in my mind when you were talking about the small players, standards today play a major role in the aerospace industry, and of course, drone is a industry within the larger aerospace industry today. So while there are standards for civilian application aircrafts, which includes DGCA, it could be Semilac for the military application aircrafts. We also have now QCI, which I think DFI works very closely with on the standardization front for the drones. It could be any class of drones. Now, to make the standardization process very accessible, when I say accessible, it should be easily accessible and easily understood and very less documentation
Right.
to be provided. So, time is money, faster to the market as a product, it wins either within India or outside India. How can DFI and your thought process can make sure that it can be much better than what it is today for this process of standardization and certification?
Sure. See, as far as the certification standard goes, it's in place. The challenges are that a lot of these small players, they don't know how to meet these requirements in one shot. So what we are doing from the DFI platform is to make sure that the knowledge that what is supposed to be done, how it should be done, and what are the right documentations to be submitted to the certifying agencies so that you can achieve your requirements in one go instead of going through iterative process is what we are solving. On the other hand, we are also putting a lot of emphasis on virtualizing a lot of these tests so that not every validation requires access to a physical testing process where it has to go through a destructive methods,
Exactly.
and also how to basically incorporate a simulation based technique during the design phase itself so that some of these corner cases which get revealed during the testing and validation can be avoided because they lead to redesign, reiteration and delays in the process. Absolutely. And also increment in the cost. So definitely we recognize the challenges which you highlighted, and there are step-by-step processes to do it. First, you should know what you are doing, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do, and then improve your methods of doing the same by including more advanced tools, more simulations, and also making sure that you know exactly the way to design it. And before you go for a test, your design should already be meeting all the criteria.
True.
So these are a few things which we are ensuring by sharing the knowledge. In the coming days, we also plan to templatize the whole thing so that when someone wants to attempt it, they don't have to create their own knowledge base from scratch. They will have a reference in place to see that how a standard document should be created, so that all they have to do is that put the values of their own design instead of understanding how to do the documentation.
Exactly. Vipul, you mentioned about the faster product to the market. And how do you think simulation can help the product development?
We have to understand drone as a subject is a multidisciplinary subject. There's a lot of aerodynamics, mechanical, vibrations, electronics, payloads, thermal management, battery management, everything going on together. Everywhere there is a competition to build a better drone, especially in defense nowadays. So everyone is trying to push the limit. The faster the drone flies, the more the advantage you have. The longer it goes, the more the advantage you have. So the material property limits, the design limits, the stress limits, everything has to be tested. And you cannot test an actual drone which is costing, let's say, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a piece minimum. Now, just to take an example of what we did, we very specifically ended up using MSc and Digimat combination for our own certification. So in that certification process, there was a need to establish the material characteristics through a proper lab tested report, which required us to do a coupon testing, which is a standard testing for any advanced composite material. Now that was a 6-month cycle because first the lab was not available and they are also choked with their existing pipeline. Plus the cost is high. So what we did uniquely and got a good amount of help from Hexagon, thanks to you that you got the whole team mobilized behind us. What we did is we created these coupons in a digital environment, tested them very quickly, and also validated the test results against some physical coupon data which was available online, and established the fact that this virtual test environment can give good results with more than 90-95% confidence, and got it accepted by the certification agency. Ultimately, it opened a new paradigm. While we understood and benefited from that during that cycle, the certification agency learned that, oh, this is also a way where, such kind of test cycles, time and cost can be reduced significantly. And it is now getting populated across the industry. Then we did a lot of thermal management. I was talking earlier about how we use MSc to basically decide how the air bleed should be used to cool down certain components in our drones so that they can perform under high temperature environment, which some of our foreign counterparts were not able to deliver. And because of that, we directly got an impact on our operational efficiency and ultimately the profit margins as well.
Thank you, Vipul. For this particular front, I think there are multiple folds of work to be done, and I'm sure you along with the DFI is working along with the government and with the bodies like QCI and DGCA to take care of this. I think drone ecosystem is a beginning. I think there is a lot more to do along with the drone ecosystem.
Absolutely.
As technology. We also have a lot of youngsters to aspire to become a startup founder and then become successful in the startup ecosystem. And an example like you, taking further from what you have done from the incubation center at IIT Kanpur to have a startup, and today being the elected chair at Drone Federation of India, it is an immense growth, and this is the kind of examples the youngsters will take together with them. Thanks a lot, Vipul, for your time.
My pleasure.
And pleasure to have you in the conversation. Thank you all. We will meet again in the next session of our discussion with eminent persons like Vipul.